Okay, so you've just finished putting together the two triangles onto the strip, and you've pressed everything in one direction. You can see that here. And now we're supposed to trim this down to a 3.5-inch square. Well, when I start to do that, I have a lot of opportunity for error. If I go in this corner, you know, how do I know my strip is centered? And I find that can be challenging. So I'm sure there are different ways to do this, but what I find convenient, I don't have a special ruler for that. I like to use a ruler I have. So I want a ruler that has a diagonal line. It can be a rectangular ruler, anything. At least it has to be 3.5 inches square, so it'll be big enough to cut this. So what I'm gonna do, this strip in the middle is 1 inch wide, okay? So what I need to do is line up when I trim. So I wanna make a channel that is 1 inch wide, but when I look at this here, I don't have markings that go that way. So what I do is find a 1.5 inch line or a 1/2 inch line on my mat, and I'm gonna put this line here, and I'm gonna line it up with the 1/2 inch. So I can see here's an inch right into here's the middle, and here, and I find if I check this line at the bottom and this line at the top, and then I use my favorite thing, painter's tape. You can use other things, but really, this is easy. And what I'm gonna do is using the straight side of the painter's tape, I'm going to make a channel near the top. I always forget that. Along that 1 inch line, okay? And I'm gonna repeat that on the other side. And what this is giving me, I like to make it a little thinner here, is a guide when I'm trimming that I can line up to improve the accuracy when I'm doing my trimming. And with painter's tape, you just cut that off. So as you can see, I have a little 1 inch channel. So now, when I go to line this up, I'm gonna turn it sideways. I can line the edges here. Like I'm not gonna trim it up 3.5 over here or over here. And how do I know where the middle of this is? You can fold it in half. There's other techniques. You can do what works for you. But I like to line this up, and I can see, because if I'm off, I'll see the background fabric. So I kind of line it up. So the first thing I'm looking at, is it in the channel? But then I also have to make sure it's big enough. So the points here at 3.5 need to fit on the block. So my 1 point here, and if I look at my half marks, 1 point here. So another thing I like to do, so I might make like, if this is my half mark, I might put a little thing right here, because that tells me this is where that goes. I often use these little arrow things so that it'll show you. So when you're lining it up, make sure it's in the channel. Point 1, point 2 are on fabric. And then you need to make sure, if I look at the edges, I have more than enough to trim off, so that when I trim it off, you know, there's something there. I don't want it to be, have one side that doesn't have covering the line. I then turn it, line up my point here at the 3.5, and I line up my lines. I make sure my channel, these are lined up, and then I trim this. You can use a rotating mat if you like using that. And then when I'm done, you can see that, you know, this is lined up, and if you were to look at it in a 1/2 inch thing, like here's your 1/2 inch mark, and my inches are right. And this gives you a very accurate block when you go to the next step. You can do that, like I said, with the little arrows marking the 3.5 inch lines. You can use anything you want to mark that. But that's a good tip for how to trim that block up.